Alrighty, we should be live. Hi, Cindy.
Hello.
How are you
How
doing?
are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. So, how are you?
I was just gonna say I'm good. I'm pretty fired up. So
Yes, we are. So, we just wanted to. I'm Angie Phillips, one of the co-founders of the Nebraska Legislative Study Group, and I'm here with Cindy Maxwell Osdick, who is also a co-founder of the study group. And we just wanted to jump on today, give a kind of a brief catch up on what's been going on with the Nebraska legislature's special session on redistricting. And then what Cindy's fired up about right now is we wanted to make sure that folks were aware of what was happening with the mother's room in the Nebraska legislature right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll start. The special session started September 13th, I believe it was, right?
Yeah.
They had 3 different hearings, or one in Lincoln, one in Omaha, and one in Grand Island on proposed legislation. Mm-hmm. So most of the folks that testified, because it kind of came across in the media and stuff, that there were basically Senator Justin Wayne's bills and Senator Linehan's bills, right, Cindy?
For Congress and legislature, there were 2 competing proposals from the redistricting committee. They didn't come out with one committee proposal, like all as one. It was competing from the Republicans and the Democrats for those 2. But the other maps, they did come out as a committee and propose maps altogether.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's for the state board or...
Yeah, State Board of Education, Supreme Court. Yeah. Do you want me to list them all, or?
Yeah, if you can, off the top of your head. I'm struggling to grab them off.
I think off the top of my head, I would be afraid to forget, but I can really look fast while you go ahead.
Okay. So it was LB1 and LB3, which was Senator Linehan's proposed maps. And then there was LB2 and LB4, which was Senator Wayne's proposed maps. Mm-hmm. Lots and lots of people showed up in support of Senator Wayne's and in opposition of Senator Linehan's throughout the Lincoln and Omaha public hearings.
Right.
The Grand Island hearings, a lot of folks had concerns about Seward and York being split up, was kind of the primary discussion in Grand Island. So less than an hour after after the Omaha public hearing, the redistricting committee voted down Senator Wayne's proposals and voted for Senator Linehan's proposals to move them to the floor for a floor debate. So one of the things, Cindy, I wanted to kind of get your explanation on, because you're the one that kind of has helped me through it. So while the majority of us went and testified for LB1, 2, 3, and 4, which were the main congressional ones and the main legislative district ones, there were also the other maps, but then there were also shell legislation. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. And I am on the redistricting website, and maybe we can put a link to the Nebraska Legislature redistricting website. And the competing maps for congressional and legislative were LB 1, 2, 3, and 4. LB 5 was the Public Service Commission. LB 6 was Judiciary or Supreme Court. LB 7 was the State Board of Education. LB 8 is the Board of Regents. And then you get into those are the ones that have maps that are available for anyone to view on the legislature website. So it's really convenient. If you go to, can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay. So sorry. I feel
here, I gotta add it. There, I added it. Sorry about that.
Okay. And then does it show which one? So sorry.
Shared it.
I am just not.
What do you need pulled up?
I was going to show the other bills on the Nebraska legislature website. So these are the redistricting special session bills. And as you scroll down and you get into LB9, this was an additional bill filed by Senator Linehan, which was going to be, a shell bill that they could put different maps into for potentially, advancing to the floor for reps for Congress. And then she also had one for legislative. So did Wayne for legislative. I thought it was interesting that there was no additional bill that Senator Wayne proposed for congressional. The bill Senator Colterman brought to up the number of senators from 50 to 49, from 49 to 50, was actually reviewed by the Attorney General and determined that it did not fit within the scope of the special session. So that is a no-go. Senator Morfell's LB 13 is a shell bill regarding legislative districts. Hughes was to fund the special session. And Senator McKinney's bill, LB 15, which I was really excited about last week, was to provide for counting Nebraska residents where they're from, as opposed to if there's a person that's imprisoned in Nebraska. Right, currently they're counted within the location where they're in prison instead of where they're from. And that artificially inflates certain areas of the state. Unfortunately, he withdrew that bill because of difficulties with data. And I'm hoping that the senator and others will work on it and bring it back again in the winter in the next session, because I think that would be something important for Nebraska to fairly represent all Nebraskans, whether they're living at home or if they are unfortunately incarcerated. Is that kind of answer what you were wondering? Those shell bills,
Yeah.
Instead of, they've been bringing a lot of amendments to change the bills that they proposed, but they also have these as set aside. So they could be something they could pull out of committee and, basically lay over a new set of maps so that it would be, available. They wouldn't have to go back to committee and start from scratch with new bills.
Okay. And so, because I think a lot of the questions that folks have is like, now that they voted through and they debated and successfully filibustered LB1 and LB3, the option from this point would be to either go ahead and vote LB2 and 4 onto the floor or one of the shell bills, correct?
Yes, I do believe. Yep.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure they could even, I don't believe in the special session that there's a limit regarding introducing new bills like they have at the beginning of a regular session, but it just wouldn't be efficient. I think and this is hard to say because I have, my civic minded heart. I want everyone to be involved with legislation and helping the senators represent all of us fairly. And that as the second house, I believe it's really our responsibility to be involved. So it's sad to me to say that I don't really think they would want to bring out any new additional bills and have more hearings. Because they're,
right.
They're trying to get this done and fast. And so, yeah, I think that's why they did these shell bills. So, but it sounds like they're going to come back and readdress. We have no idea. There's no agenda for tomorrow. It's not published yet.
And right. Senator Hilgers did say on the floor, though, that this morning that, the idea was that they were working really hard to try to come up with some compromises and get something together, and that they would, that his goal was to have something being debated on Friday, right?
Yeah. And then he did say that if they can't get it finished by Saturday, the end of business Saturday, then in Senator Hilgers' recommendations, he would end the session and just punt it to the regular session starting in January. So I'm really not sure where all that is going.
Well, hopefully they can get it together and get something in, because it's been really frustrating. The day that they had the hearings in Lincoln, some of the interactions between like Senator Wayne and Senator Linehan and Senator Brewer and some of the senators on the board really led with the impression that they were ready to work together in a nonpartisan manner to get this done. And since it's been on the floor, they've proven anything but. Like, it's clearly, partisan. It's clearly not working together in a nonpartisan way that's best for the people.
It was surprising. There was an amendment brought to the bill that didn't, it actually, the amendment was passed. It's just that the actual bill didn't reach closure. So,
Right.
I mean, I think there may be some things going on in the background, and that's frustrating to me. Is I wish that it was more of it transparent and being, discussed on the floor, where we can all participate.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that while the Democrats led in the filibuster against LB1 and LB3, there were Republican senators that either were present not voting on cloture, or I'm not sure that any actually voted with the Democrats. No, Senator McAllister did on that, but my point is, while the Democrats led the filibuster, there were Republicans that didn't want to or didn't vote to advance LB1 and LB3 as well. So
yeah, it's all a question. I mean, I sincerely just recommend everyone continue to call their own senator and any other senator they want to speak to at the legislature as well, but especially their own. And we will make sure, we're putting out our recordings every day. You can catch up at night if you'd missed it during the day when it was live. But today, what I think many other mothers and, feminists, be they men or women or otherwise, across the state, were just dismayed to learn from Senator Kavanaugh today that the mother's room at the legislature was just abruptly eliminated.
Yeah.
Did you want to show a little
let's
bit
go
about
ahead
that?
and watch I think we'll just show the very first part where Senator Kavanaugh kind of described what happens.
Yes,
and then people are free to go to our our public page to watch the conversation in its entirety, because Senator Hughes does respond, and they have a little question and answer thing, and then Senator Hunt gets up on the mic and kind of says some stuff. So they're welcome to go watch. But I think we'll just share the first part where Senator Kavanaugh explains it. So just a second here.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Michaela Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Lieutenant Governor. Good morning, colleagues. I am not in opposition to this bill, but I wanted to take time this morning to share a story with you all. So most of the people in this body know my son, Barrett. He's 3. When I started here, he was a few months old. And I came to this chamber for my orientation, and I had to bring Barrett with me because, as I say, he was a gentleman of discerning taste and would not take a formula bottle. And so I had to bring him with me to nurse. And I called in advance to the clerk's office to ask about where I could do so, and was informed at that time that there was no mother's room. This began a journey for me. I knew that I would have my own office. I knew that I would have my own private space. But I also knew that there were so many women that worked in this building that didn't have that luxury. And so I wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to take care of their child while also working. I introduced a bill. It went to Government Affairs. It did not get out of committee. I worked with then Speaker Scheer, Senator Brewer, Senator Hilders, Senator Matt Hansen, and Mr. Ripley of the Capitol Commission. I think you can see a theme in the individuals that I worked with. Then a wonderful woman came into the room, the legal counsel, who's actually sitting on the floor today, for the exec board. And she suggested a space. And all eyes turned to me to see if it was acceptable. And I said, absolutely, as long as we can put a sink in it and it's a private room that locks, it's acceptable. That began the process of figuring out how much that would cost, because everything has to be capital original. And the exec board agreed that the space could be a new mother's room, but we could not spend a single dollar of taxpayer dollars. So I was given $40,000 fiscal note, and 24 hours later, I had a donor who donated the funds for the room. I found out yesterday that the furniture has been moved out, that the room is being used as an office for a gentleman. And I found it out not from any of those gentlemen that were sitting in that room with me that day, but from a woman who works in the building who no longer has access to this room. Thank you, Mr. Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah.
So, I was at the Capitol the other day running an errand, and there's a lot of construction going on. There's, things in the hallway. There's, obviously lots of construction and things happening. But I also seemed to notice that there were empty rooms and places and areas. So it was just shocking to me. If you would like to go back and review the rest of it, it is on our page, the recording. Apparently there's a person that's just in that room now as an office. There's a man in that office, and they're just unable to have a mother's room right now. Senator Hughes had mentioned something about there's a pod in the legislature. There's like a copy room, and there's this pod available that people could go in and have privacy to, like, say, express milk or nurse. But there's no running water. There's no microwave.
It's also like, I've seen it. You've seen it, right?
Yeah, it's like
it's like a box. It's
Yeah.
it's like a box.
It's a pod.
It's very obvious. And I don't think that Senator Hughes is necessarily trying to be ignorant. He just obviously has never nursed before, because so I have 3 kids. I tried to nurse all 3 of them, and it was challenging for all 3 of them. I was not like a natural nurser. And if you're not comfortable, if you're not relaxed, if you are not, able to really calm and focus on what you're doing, you can't release the milk. And so it's just, oh, it says we might have lost some.
That's weird. Are we
I
back?
think we lost access to one of them. I'm not sure.
There's green check marks for me, but
Yeah, me too. Sorry.
So
anyway,
the thing it's just so frustrating, because as a mom who also nursed my 3 children, just ended 11 years ago. I can't imagine why in 2021 this is a difficulty, and especially since we have such low, as someone with an HR background and recruiting, trying to bring people to the state and to retain excellent employees, grow people with their careers, that someone would have difficulty in our capital finding a place that is sanitary, comfortable, secure. Senator Kavanaugh had arranged to actually have a private donor help to outfit a room that had a microwave so you could heat your milk if you needed to, a refrigerator so if when you're done expressing, you could put your milk away and have it be kept at the proper temperature. I mean, all of these types of things were actually not even paid for by taxpayers. As a taxpayer, I was happy to pay for that, because it is something that's important for the working parents of our state or anyone visiting our capital. So the whole process was very disappointing, listening to the back and forth. But I just thought it would be really important for everyone to know that it is right now not available, except in Senator Kavanaugh's office. She offered her office as a place for available, and she actually moved out of it today. There's a picture.
I'm gonna show that picture.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
The Women Who Run, Denise with Women Who Run had stopped, I think, to take something maybe to a few senators down in Lincoln. And she actually caught this picture of Senator Kavanaugh moving out of her office to make an availability. And it's the responsibility of the legislator with the executive board to fix this. And they need to do it immediately for all the employees, all the senators, and any visitors at the Capitol, that they would have a sanitary, convenient, comfortable, secure place to take care of their family, take care of their infants' needs. And it's just despicable that it hasn't happened, that it today went to the point where she had to move out of her office. And I think it would be good for everyone. And I called my senator. I left a message at Senator Hilkeman's office right away this afternoon. And I think it would be important to also contact all of the senators on the exec board. And I think we have those people's names and their emails available to share. And then I think it'd be important to thank Senator Kavanaugh as well for bringing this to our attention. There are women and fathers, people across the state that are just appalled that this is something that we are not offering to our employees at the Capitol. And it's just, it's simply not practice. I mean, most modern businesses have this covered. It's 2021. It just shouldn't be a question. Shouldn't be a question. And then there was apparently some sort of outstanding bill or something for $7,000 that Senator Hughes thought that needed to be paid, even though there was no mother's room. So
it sounded as though he was using the fact that there was still that amount left as a reason to be like, well, if it's not paid for, you don't get it. But Senator Kavanaugh made it pretty clear on the floor that she did not know there was an outstanding bill, and all they really needed to do was just send the donor an invoice, and she was sure that it would get paid. So that right there to me kind of spoke of, I was like, wait, so nobody thought to just ask the donor for more money? Like, it's interesting. So all right. Well, so we did drop the copy and paste format of the executive committee in the comments for those that want to send a quick email. And we just want to ask that they reinstate the mother's room at the Nebraska legislature, because it really is a support for working mothers. So
it's so important. It's so important.
And it's also about women running for office and women being able to get office, and especially working class mothers, working class women that, might not have the same access. I mean, even like when I was with my oldest daughter, when I tried to move over to a breast pump, I was on Medicaid, and the breast pump that Medicaid paid for, I couldn't, pump with. I ended up having to purchase one that Medicaid would not cover, that would actually fit me correctly and work right to be able to pump. So there's access level too. So, all right. Well,
yes, thank you. I'm so glad to just talk with you about this and try and bring attention, because I think people are busy. They were at work today, they were at school, and they might not have been watching what happened. And it's just really important that they get this handled. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they can definitely go to our public page and watch. If they missed today, I believe that Senator Kavanaugh starts discussing this around 1 hour and 8 minutes. So,
thank you.
All right, thanks, Cindy. Have a good night.
Take care.